Anybody been baptized? Tyler, you going to heaven?
I have.
I have not been. maybe this is it.
Wait, didn't you grow up in sort of a religious household?
I was never baptized.
The biggest scandal at my church was that the priest wore Birkenstocks to my christening. That's it.
That's very, very chill, and I love it.
Yeah, I love that.
Are there pictures of you being christened while with a priest in Birkenstocks?
Yeah.
They should have known at that point what your life was going to end up as.
Yeah.
They should have looked at that picture and been like, oh, this one's a podcaster.
They knew I was going to have a relationship with God, but it was going to be a little loose.
I'm more chill. Everybody, we've planted our flag in the ground as a Christian podcast, I'm pretty sure, at this point. So I think that's what our energy is. We're chill with Christ.
The podcast. Get chill with Christ.
Get chill with Christ. Hang out with Jesus. The podcast. A cool hang with Jesus.
It's a very good tag.
What's up, dudes and dudettes? We're hanging out and rocking on this ride and waves today. We're all hanging 10. Shaka brothers and Barneys alike. It's the podcast. It's the podcast for podcasters and by podcasters and also rocking dudes and dudettes. We're hanging out and rocking 10 here with me and my buddy Jeff and my other podcasters. I'm your host and podcaster, hanging 10, riding the wave. Oh, Neil Henry.
All right, I'm your local Quran, Tyler J. Carcara. All right.
I'm Olivia Fumiotti, and a shark ate my leg.
But I'm not letting that one get me down.
I wanted to do this intro. Hey, guys, this is a podcast for podcast. I wanted to do this intro. Olivia knows where I'm going with this. I wanted to do this intro because we have a very special fan out there. I just wanted to do a special shout out for our good friend, Surf Life Jeff. What an inspiring Instagram that is.
Don't make fun. Hey, stop. Listen.
I'm not making fun. No, this is an appreciation. This is an appreciation. I don't even know if I want to go more than this, other than just everybody make sure to check out friend of the show, Surf Life Jeff.
Surf Life Jeff Carcara. Dad, I love you. It's a very good Instagram.
All jokes aside, it's a very good Instagram. Like those are some choice pics.
Look at that little dog. It's very good.
O'Neill, you've met my father. Did you expect him to have a Surf Life Jeff Instagram?
Not at all. And it was
my dad. Okay, we need to talk about this.
We got to talk about it.
In the last 3 years or so, my dad has taken a hard pivot in terms of vibes. My dad went from business dad to surf dad.
I think that's a natural transition. I think that is. I think that's a natural transition. If he would have moved over to the West Coast, he would be living in Malibu 100%. That is the vibes 100%. Oh God, it's so good, Tyler. He's got so many pictures of those boats, some boat beauties. Your dog on the water. Ugh. This is okay. It is a premium follow. He got a picture of his kids. Oh, it's a good
great.
good dad Instagram. It's better than my dad's Instagram.
I did dox fucking Tyler's grandma in the group chat.
So we have insights on just the rest of Tyler's family. Tyler, your family's gonna have to go.
Tyler was making fun of me because I had COVID, and he said, "Will you please provide us with your first 18 coronavirus documents?" I said, "Yeah, here you go, 1 sec," and send him a picture of his grandma. Tyler just goes, "Me, no."
Tyler has a beautiful family, and
He does.
we understand
you,
where
Mimi.
O'Neill made some very, very upsetting comments to my aunt over text.
Oh my god! I completely forgot about it.
Whoa!
I'm in my young gravy phase. So that's the other thing that we sort of need to discuss at the top here is that
Yeah.
I'm out here for the MILFs.
Are you?
Yeah, why not? Working on that sperm count, guys. All right, let's get this real up.
And there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh wait, can I since we're doing family updates, Mom, I do apologize for all the sperm count talk. I understand it does make you uncomfortable as my mother. But listen, it just means that you will have viable grandchildren eventually.
My favorite part about this podcast that we've been doing for a couple months now is how invested in it all our parents are,
very
all our
deeply.
families.
Yeah.
Very
They love
deeply, and sort of how each week is a referendum on our parents' critiques of the show.
Yeah, it really is great. It does have my dad wrote a porno sort of aesthetic, which I love.
Yeah,
It's all in the family, you know?
Let's spin that wheel. Let's
if it's
spin
not
that
for the
wheel.
family, let's spin the wheel of choosing.
And we're setting up the wheel of choosing, and then we're gonna spin the wheel of choosing as soon as my internet connects. Spin the wheel. Oh. Okay, I'm actually glad. I'm going first this week.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Neil
Okay,
Henry.
great.
Oh, Neil Henry. Oh, Neil.
All right, I'm actually glad I'm going first this week because I have a thing for this sort of pitching section. So this is actually the second part of a 3-part pitching series that I am doing, a sort of a trilogy. This is my podcast pitching trilogy, which will culminate in next week's episode. But this one I do like a lot, and it's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple concept. There's not really a lot to talk about other than just sort of like hashing out some ideas, really.
Sure.
But you guys like YouTube poops?
I could take them or leave them.
I used to.
I think they are the highest form of comedy. And here's why. It's funny when you get Tobey Maguire to say pizza a whole bunch of times, and they just get J.K. Simmons to say a lot of yells. And it's very good. And I love the fact that that exists. Just taking a movie or a concept or whatever. I've seen the entirety of Morbius against my will due to a YouTube poop. So like it's a real great vehicle for content production. And so I am bringing you today podcast poop. A sort of podcast innovation on the YouTube poop format. Now, before I get into sort of what my vision of this is, I want to get you guys' opinions on it, and also just sort of like where you think this could go before I give mine. Because again, this isn't going to be a very long pitch here.
I feel like your idea is branching towards doing this to other people's podcasts.
Yes.
I think if we did it to our podcast, it'd be fucking hysterical.
That could also be good.
Yeah,
That could be
I'm
very
Are
funny.
you kidding?
That could be
me?
funny. Yes, in my original idea, I think it would be very funny to take an episode of a different podcast and, YouTube poopify it. But I think it could also be pretty funny to do it to our own podcast. Now, if we were to do it to our own podcast, what would that be? How would we do that?
I think that would
I'm trying to
require
think
a
of
lot
like
of
things that
editing.
we say often. Sperm
Yes, it would
count.
be editing. Yes, a lot
Piss.
for sperm count, piss. Yes. The other aspect to this, and Tyler, I want to hear your version on this after I get this one. But
yeah.
transcripts are going to be super useful for this because you can like cut words out and do stuff like that. So if a podcast has a transcript, that would make it a lot easier to sort of make. But yeah, it'll be very editing focused and all that. But Tyler, let me get your opinion on what do you think?
I think this is an excellent B segment concept.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're underestimating the amount of work you're giving yourself by pitching
Oh
this.
yeah, okay, yes. So that was my other thing. Are you guys familiar with the Valley Folk?
No.
It's a conglomerate of sketch comedians, like internet sketch comedians, people from Steve Zaragoza's on it from Dynamic Banter, friend of the show.
Okay.
They essentially do sketch a lot of sketch work and video work and stuff like that. But over the pandemic, them and a bunch of their friends actually did a similar thing, but with the entirety of the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure movie. And so what each of them did was they each handed off pieces of the edit to do, and then they put them all together as like a whole movie. And I think that could be super interesting to do. If we wanted to do this for a bit depth, it could be super funny for each of us to get maybe like 20 minutes of a podcast episode to chop and screw and just mess around with, and then put them all together as like a cohesive podcast thing. I think that could be very funny. And then doing it to an episode of an extant podcast.
Yeah, no notes. This is just, do we want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's not a very highfalutin
There's not a lot to pitch and discuss. I do want to discuss. I think this is going to be a recurring segment on our show.
Yep.
Explain this to my parents.
Okay. What is your
Because my
besides
parents
our show?
don't know what a YouTube
Yeah.
is.
No. It's great. No, this is perfect. Besides our show, what is your parents' favorite podcast?
My mom loves Smartless. My mom's a big
Smartless?
Smartless
Okay.
fan. Yeah.
Okay.
My mom loves Armchair Expert with Dax
Armchair
Shepard.
Expert's a great one.
They're big interview. My dad loves like a true crime, like
Okay,
there's like
great.
there's a podcast called Deep Cover that's pretty good that he loves.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we started out. You like your podcast, right, Jeff? You love listening when you're carving
I love
those wakes.
listening when I'm carving I love carving waves and listening.
Carving waves and listening to
to
podcasts.
Malcolm
Two favorite.
Gladwell's podcast.
Yeah,
Revisionist
for sure.
History.
What if we took your favorite podcast?
Yeah.
What's your favorite episode?
I love the episode of Revisionist History about how McDonald's fries, how they stopped using peanut oil to fry McDonald's fries.
Yeah.
And it was better that way.
Yeah.
Things
What
were
if we
better
took
when I
that
was a kid.
podcast and then just made it better and funnier? How would you like that?
I would like that, but it's already a pretty good episode.
Well,
He does like some in-depth research, and it's very, very funny.
yeah, but that's it's kind of boring, isn't it? What if he said, what if, you know what you've never heard?
What you're saying is, what if Malcolm Gladwell sucked the piss off a grape?
He sucked the piss off a grape. What if we made Malcolm Gladwell say, come?
That's pretty.
A lot.
I, Tyler, am laughing. I don't know if that one would.
Sell to your parents? All right.
The idea of Malcolm Gladwell saying a very intelligent, like research-based,
Exactly. Right?
Saying
I'm glad you're seeing
it's very funny.
the potential of this idea. And again, this won't be a long pitch because it's a fairly straightforward idea. But like getting Ira Glass to say a racial slur would be very funny.
Oh no!
Very funny. I do like that.
Yeah, it would just be. I think it would just be funny to get some of our favorite. And you know what? Here's the thing with if we do this for a B segment, or I know this is more deliberation talk, but I'm just gonna put this in my pitch. If we go to B segment with it, it could be fun to just like chop and screw an episode. But if we did this as a full bit depth, imagine just sort of the avenues we could explore. Right? You could cut in different podcasts together. Like there's a whole audioscape and medium you could just sort of play around with.
Now, could we? Here's my idea for the B segment. We chop and screw this A segment for the B segment.
Oh man, that would be very mirrors on mirrors, sort of like looking into it. So I could be down. You know, it'd be very funny though. This is ruining the joke, obviously. But what if we said we're gonna do this as the premise of the B segment, but then we just played this again?
That would be very funny.
That'd be very good.
I think
yeah,
this
go
is a
ahead.
great idea. Olivia, we haven't heard from you lately. I'm getting the sense that YouTube poops aren't sort of your forte.
No, I think that YouTube poops are funny. I haven't seen a good one in a while.
The Steven Universe ones were great.
The Beauty and the
that's
Beast
gassy.
one with Gaston, very good.
Very good.
I just
Says
think
Gaston a
I don't know.
lot.
I don't know because like we've worked off of other podcasts before, and I don't know. Like obviously, like folks are listening to this podcast. Like I feel like you need to know the source material.
True.
Yeah.
For it to be funny.
I think. Yeah.
If we did something like a This American Life with an Ira Glass thing, that's
I feel
pretty
like something
universal.
that's like a form that's really recognizable. I think would be really funny.
Yes.
I think like a This American Life would be really funny. Like a Huberman Lab would be really fucking funny.
Okay, can I again, I know we keep on circling back to them, but this is where the ideas come from, is when I'm listening to other podcasts. But this came from me skipping through an episode of, actually it was The Town. And I was just like hitting that fast forward 15-second button, and you can like hear like bits and pieces of words, and sometimes they're like meshed together. That's so funny to me. But I also did this with the My Brother and My Brother and Me intro, the Bob Ball intro, and it's very funny to like skip through that and like have it make just different words.
Now, I do want to point out,
Yes,
there are already Joe Rogan Experience YouTube poops.
There
That's
are.
a thing.
yes.
Yep.
But this is purely an audio medium.
Purely an audio medium, and I think we don't do anyone that would have already been YouTube pooped, right? I think, staying away from Joe Rogan. What's the
stay away from the memeable stuff, right?
Yeah, the memeable stuff, right? We want to dig deep, and we want to make this a niche poop. But yeah, so that's the concept. Yeah, we want to do something a little bit niche, a little bit specific, but also broad enough that it works as a form. And then also, like, I think it should be, because we're not going to be, that's the thing. If we're doing a different podcast, we're not going to be on it. So I think all three of us need to take segments of it and edit it. And
for sure.
Yeah, sort of assignments.
Now, are we just going to call it Podcast Poops? I think that's a pretty solid
Podcast
name.
Poops, maybe. Do we have any like other ideas for a title?
PPP, Podcast Poops.
PPP
PPP presents. Triple P presents.
The Pod presents.
Pod poop.
Is this our first like Pod branded external episode? You know how the Podcast Poops, a podcast story.
Oh, yeah. Let's do something for SEO. Let's get some SEO. Podcast Poops, I think, is just like easy. Let me just Google Podcast Poops and see if there's anything that pops up.
Oh God.
Oh no, this is gonna be scattered.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Oh, look at all that. Oh, scatological. Love it. Man, why do people love talking about poop on podcasts? Nobody wants to hear about it. Oh, and now I'm looking at
We're
images.
doing
Now-
it right now.
But
Hang
we're
on,
doing that
guys.
now.
I want to talk about something. The name of our show is already kind of a YouTube poop. Our
It
name
is kind of. We are a little bit memey.
is.
Yes, that is true. It is a sort of a shit post of a podcast idea. But we've been going for fucking what? What are we on? 16 episodes? 6 episodes?
13.
Yeah, sure. We've been going a while now. But like just saying I've released a lot of episodes is not necessarily
A mark of quality.
Successor quality.
That's fair. You know, that's fair.
We've seen Grey's Anatomy. We've seen
Yeah,
General
that's
Hospital.
fair.
We
Hey,
know how
listen.
these things go.
They've won Emmys, and this podcast hasn't won one yet. So we're
We
getting
will.
close.
We will
eventually.
We'll get there.
But so that is the podcast poops. I'm just trying to think like if there's anything.
Can we call it the poopcast?
Poopcast. Ugh. No, because again, that's the thing. Maybe poop isn't right because it works for YouTube poops because it's sort of like ingrained. But is there another like?
But that gets across the concept of what we're doing.
The Poodcast.
What about okay? Do you guys remember? I'm a fire in my laser. That's sort of the brand that I think we're gonna be going ish. You know what?
Okay, I'm gonna watch one that's called The Unemployables, which is an Incredibles YouTube poop.
Okay. So Olivia's gonna watch a YouTube poop. Tyler and I will just kind of do the show. Or Tyler, do you want to like maybe just bang out the first 3 episodes of Legends of Vox Machina, and I can just sort of scat man on the tracker? I mean, I have some anime I can watch if we just want to all just take a break and watch our.
Yeah, I got some work I could do.
Yeah,
I gotta send a couple emails.
I'm behind on editing the podcast. We could just
Okay. Enough of that. It needs to be camp.
Yes, 100%.
Can it be the cast pod? The cast.
Oh, I like this. I like where this is going. Yes. Can we just call it the podcast, and just keep on going?
Could
We got a YouTube poop.
Yeah, we have to YouTube poop our name, which is already kind of a YouTube poop.
Yeah, exactly.
Cast. Could it be the podcast, ..
And just keep on going.
Etc.
Etc. The
Can we call it Triple D Diners, Drive-Ins, and Podcasts?
Oh, okay. Man, taken from different properties is
Could
good.
the name of the podcast just be the entire script for the B movie?
Yes. And we've I don't know.
See how much
bad
we can
SEO.
fit.
Bad SEO. And I don't know how. Let me check the character limit.
podcast.
Can we just
and
call
the
it?
B
Can we
movie.
just call it? You like jazz? The podcast.
You like jazz?
'Cause-
Oh,
'cause
okay,
it is
okay,
kind of
yes.
podcast
It's kind of
jazz. You know?
podcast jazz. Okay. You like jazz? Okay. Do we want to put podcast in it at all, or is it just called You Like Jazz?
I think you like
Jazz
jazz.
the podcast.
Okay. You like jazz?
I think we
podcast.
could just call it You Like Jazz. I don't think we need the podcast in there.
Oh, that's
like
already
jazz?
taken though. No, it's fine. We're fine. We're fine to take that one. It's got a 2-minute trailer and that's it. So we could do You Like Jazz? Question mark.
You like jazz?
You
you
like
like jazz?
I
I think we're good. I think it's
I'm
time to
on
move
board.
on.
All right. I'm good with that. Cool. You like jazz?
You like jazz?
Lost the wheel. Hold on. Stand by.
Oh God, the wheel.
Not the wheel.
We lost the wheel.
Not the wheel.
Jesus took the wheel again.
Oh no.
Jesus, take the
Take the
wheel.
wheel.
Somebody needs to track down Jesus. Why is he always taking the
From
wheel?
my head.
We can't fucking drive without a wheel.
Jesus Christ, wanted
Wheel
car-
thief. And spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Spin the wheel.
Oh,
Jersey.
it's Olivia.
It's Sammy. Woohoo! Cool. This podcast is going to be an interesting one. All right. Are either of you familiar with the work of Mary Norton?
No.
Mary Norton.
The
Nope.
work of Mary Norton. She wrote a series of books in the 1950s called The Borrowers.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Welcome to the Tiny Podcast, a podcast from the world of The Borrowers.
Oh, okay, Olivia. I like this. All right, yeah, I'm in. I'm locked in. What you got?
So this is essentially the world of either the this is where
No, I got you.
Yeah. So the idea is that we have it in the world of Arietti and her folks, the Clock family. And so this is a tiny podcast. It's a podcast about tiny things. And it is
Being a small,
either
the small podcast. I love it.
the small podcast, the tiny podcast.
Okay, wait. Here we go. Olivia, can I come and swoop in here with just a couple suggestions already?
Sweep it. Yes.
I think it has guests. I think it's a podcast that interviews small people and small things. So, for instance, one of the episodes is the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, you know?
Okay.
And then another one, the Smurfs. The Smurfs could be on an episode. I think it's a podcast.
This is the Gargamel
Ratatouille.
podcast.
I think we
Ratatouille.
expand the world to just be, this is the small podcast. It's just a podcast from the world of the Smols, you know?
Tiny podcast.
We got,
yeah.
one episode we could have Amelie on there.
Don't look for me on Blu-ray. I'm not on Blu-ray yet.
I think,
This laser disc is gigantic.
Yeah, I definitely think that a world from the world that's hosted by the borrowers, because they obviously are the ones who collected enough materials to make a podcast small. What do the borrowers make their microphone out of?
I don't know. That's the question. I'm trying to think of what they could take from the human beings. You know what I'm imagining? You know a lavalier mic?
Yeah. It's just a big lavalier mic, and that's sort of like the area mic that they all talk about.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like
That's
that.
pretty good.
It's like almost like holding like a soccer bopper, but
yeah.
it's a microphone.
Yeah, we could have. We could have Marcel the Shell with shoes on. That could be an episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm loving this. I'm loving this world. So, what is the
This is the
podcast
Tiny
about?
Podcast. That's the thing. This is I brought the idea. I need help flushing it.
Yes,
out.
okay,
This is,
yeah,
This
100%.
is my quandary every week. I'm trying to think because like the idea is that it is small. That's
Yes.
the gimmick. What does one talk about when one is little, when one is tiny?
Yeah, what are these guys talking about? So let's try to find a comp. I think that would be the easiest thing. It's like, what's similar podcasts? Not fashion, right? They're not talking about fashion. It's not like a gossip thing. It's not a Count Chocula sort of talk show. What sort of problems or things do small people sort of talk about and deal with on a day-to-day that you would have an interview? Stairs. Stair Innovation Podcast. No.
Dogs.
Could it be about
Vacuum.
using different household objects that are tiny as normal size.
Sort of like a
tools for
life
them.
hacks podcast about
But
like.
the thing is, I feel like that's more of a visual bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you could turn it into an audio bit pretty easily.
Couldn't just be like an interview podcast. Like in the classic style. Could we just like? Does it need a
Just a
shtick?
straight-
Could it
yeah,
just
okay,
be
yeah, just a-
like a smart list where
Yes.
you just bring on one of your famous small
Yes,
friends?
yes, okay, yeah, I think
and
that's
you
where-
just do a podcast in character as these small, tiny people.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where we stick with it. I think we just do an interview
Yeah.
with the thing. So who are our two main hosts, and then who would our guest be?
I feel like we have Arietti and what the hell's the other?
I would say we have one. We get one borrower, one other like fairly regular small, and then a guest small. You know what I'm saying?
I'm feeling like a Tale of Despero or like I'm trying to.
What are the
think.
other smalls? We got the Smurfs.
You've got the Indian in the cupboard,
Idiot in the cupboard. Yeah,
Obsessed with
sure.
those fucking bucks.
the
Sherlock
Stuart
Gnomes.
Littles.
Stuart
Little would be a good one. Stuart Little.
Little.
Stuart Little. Stuart Little.
Yes.
For
Ratatouille.
Sure, for sure.
Do you know
for sure.
he's
So
not really in the book?
Ratatouille.
He's not a mouse.
He's
just
not
a boy that
he's not a
looks
mouse.
like a mouse.
He's like just a small
he's
child.
He's just
Yeah.
a small
He's a
human,
human.
boy that looks like a mouse.
Which, by the way, easiest birth, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like it's
You think Stuart Little will still a C-section?
it's like taking out a tampon.
Oh no! Oh no! No, you know what?
Tail is the string and everything.
Taking out the Stuart Little tampon.
Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell would be another one. That'd be a good one. But I think Tyler. I need you to get on this Stuart Little tampon sort of beat that we're on real quick.
Hang on,
all
let me
right?
just bring that sort of energy.
Suck it in. Or do you think it was kind of like a kidney stone? Because he was so small. Because I mean, if you think about Stuart Little as an adult versus as a baby, he's even smaller, you know? Very poetic if you think about it. Oh my god! Stuart Little's birth being kind of like a tampon. Does he have a tail in the books?
I don't know. I never read the books.
Olivia,
I think we killed Olivia.
Now, Olivia, you don't want children, but if your birth could be as easy as Stuart Little, would you consider it? Because you would have to deal with your child being constantly threatened by cats and owls.
I don't know.
So it is a trade-off. It's an easy start, but it's a harder, through line. But Stuart Little ended up being successful.
No,
so,
What
you know.
is Stuart Little's adult job? What did he end up doing? Isn't he like a boat captain?
Accountant or something? Oh, was it a boat captain? I never saw the
Because
second one.
he sailed
to
a
be
little
completely
tiny
honest.
toy boat.
Yeah, but I thought that was just a sort of shtick.
I don't know. What does Stuart Little do?
Fuck Stuart Little for a second. What's that kid up to? Who is that?
Remember that kid who's
the
like,
kid
hey,
actor?
remember that kid?
He used to be in everything.
Could you imagine being that kid? Your parents are just like, hey, here's your new brother that we also love as much as you.
And he's also small and a rat.
He's also a literal rodent.
You need to love your rat
He
brother.
goes, rodent, 5 feet of shit, our human son.
Actually, if I remember correctly, the son was super into the Stuart Little, but the
parents
others
were not.
weren't,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
The parents were into it. So imagine
No,
you're
Jonathan Lipnicki is his name.
Jonathan Lipnicki.
Jonathan Lipnicki.
Yeah.
He was in the little vampire.
What has he been up to?
What's-
Let's
I
check
think
into
he's a
what's
Jonathan
bodybuilder
Lipnicki.
now.
Oh, what if Stuart Little became a bodybuilder?
I think he could do it. Oh my god, I forgot he was in Like Mike too. That's where that's the other one.
I'm just looking at these
32.
very good Lipnicki
Oh my God, I
JPEGs.
can't-
What a
I
great
just
career.
fucking-
All right. So back to the small
Back to the
people
small
cast.
cast.
Back to the small people podcast. So we have what's the main character for the finders
Arietti,
again?
the borrowers.
We have Arietti,
Stuart
we have Stuart Little, and then who's our special guest? Do we want to do one of the kids from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
I don't think anybody remembers the kids from Honey, I Shrunk
I think
the
it's
Kids.
got to be 3 rats. What about Ratatouille? What about Remy from Ratatouille?
We got
Ratatouille.
Remy, we got Stuart, and we got Despero. I don't know.
So is this a rat podcast? Despero would be very funny. Despero.
What about the
book.
rat from Flushed Away?
Oh my
Roddy?
god! I know that. Yeah, that would change the concept completely to this is just now a rat cast, but I don't
I don't
hate
hate it either.
The rats. The rats. We're
Fuck,
the
I
rats.
can't believe. I can't fucking believe I called Stuart Little a tampon.
All right, so that's the question,
Yes.
Olivia. This is ultimately your decision, but do you want this to be a rat cast where it's Stuart Little, Remy, and the guy from Flushed Away, or do we want to do small?
Well,
small
it could still be
cast and sort of
Arietti,
broaden it out a
Remy,
little
and
bit?
the guy from Flushed Away.
Is Arietti?
No,
a
she is
rat?
a small person. She is.
Oh,
a
the borrower. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
She's 4 inches tall.
The borrowers. Yeah. Or do we do Arietti, Amelie, and special
Amelie is a
guest
regular-sized French woman.
not to us.
She's very little.
Very little. If it's on a spoon.
I eat the egg with a spoon.
You're just doing someone else's bit right now.
I know we're doing other bits. All right, this isn't you like Jess. Okay, so what do you feel?
So I don't. I'm trying to
Could
think
we
of other
have a
rat
Smurf?
fictions.
Well, I'm trying to think of other small people fictions. What about the
Yeah.
Keebler elves?
Get into crumble territory. I want to stay away from that. I'll try to build up that fiction on my own.
Full list of tiny characters.
I think it is more B segment ish if we have Arietti, who has borrowed a microphone from the human beings.
Yes,
and
okay,
is
yes,
now,
yes,
and
true.
is now
We can live in the fiction
Tinkerbell.
world
is,
better.
is now interviewing small folks. So the fairies
Mm-hmm.
of Pixie Hollow, sure thing, no worries. The Smurfs, sure. why not?
Tinkerbell is a good character because she's sassy, right?
But she's also silent. She doesn't.
No, she speaks. You just can't hear her because she's tiny.
Because she's little.
She whispers in.
And she
She
has a
whispers
very
Yeah,
in
deep
she's a
voice.
homicidal bitch. Yeah.
That's true.
What about one of the toys from Toy Story?
That would get existential. I feel a little
I'm trying to think
existential.
of like any
Just
other
a
like
smidge.
live toy.
What about a bug? Could we do like a
What about
Bug's
one of the
Life?
toys from Small
Bug-
Soldiers?
A bug would be very fun.
Oh, a bug from Bug's Life
bug.
would be kind of fun. There's
There was
a lot of bugs we could pick
a little
from.
bug. Hardly there.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man! Quantumania!
We get that Quantumania heat. Okay, I'm with it. So Ant-Man, Thumbelina. This is such a
Okay,
weird pod.
Stuart
hodgepodge.
Little, Arietti, Ant-Man.
Okay, and it's not. And wait, hold on. It's not Ant-Man though. It's actually.
It's
what's
just
the
Paul
fuck
Rudd.
Is his name? Paul Rudd is the guest, and it's Stuart Little and Thumbelina. Not
Arietti.
Thumbelina.
Is it big Paul
Arietti.
Rudd though?
No. Small Paul Rudd. He got stuck as small for the filming because this is a little Hollywood insider. Christopher Nolan actually got Ant-Man Quantumania, and he decided he actually wanted to shrink down Paul Rudd for the role. So it's Paul
It's all
Rudd stuck
practical.
as Ant-Man.
It's all practical.
It's all practical. So Paul Rudd stuck small until they figure out how to stretch him out again, and then you got Stuart Little and Aaron.
So that's why he
And I
doesn't
think
age.
that's,
He's just tiny.
all right. So we have our guest. What are we thinking for titles?
I don't know. I feel like the tiny cast doesn't really help.
The tiny cast, the small cast, small like SMOL.
Small.
We tiny small.
The tiny cast is not an IP. So
I'm fine with the tiny cast. If
I
that's
mean,
where we
it
wanna
hey, it's right
land,
on the
but-
hey, it's right on the tin.
right on the
It's
tin.
right on the tin.
Is there something? What's the end part for small in English? Because in Spanish it's like ito. You know, what's like the small.
we don't have that.
English doesn't have that.
Yeah, we do. We do. I just can't think of it. Podcast et.
That's French. But yes, could we call it
Podcastling? Oh, that's
the
kinda
mic,
cute.
the mic,
Cast.
the
Podcastling?
microcast?
Ooh, the microcast. I
The
like
pocket
it.
cast.
But that pocket cast, interesting. I think that might already be a thing, but I like that.
pocket podcast.
Yeah, pocket cast is already a thing.
The
It's
petite
actually coming.
podcast.
But Le Petit Podcast. Then we would have to bring on Amelie as one of the characters. But I would be down.
the itty bitty
the mini
titty
mic.
committee. The itty bitty titty
The
committee.
itty bitty titty committee.
Itty bitty pod titty pod titty. Pod titty.
Now that's something. Now
Pod
that's
titty.
something.
What about just the Lil podcast?
Lil-
The Lil pod,
pod?
Lil
Little
podcast?
pod.
Lil
Lil
pod.
pod. Let me look up. I think that's it.
How about the minute minute?
The mini minute.
Ooh, the mini minute. The mini minute is a nice one too.
Uh,
So minute minute is clear, and then the mini minute.
Yeah.
Nope, we got the mindful minute, not the mini minute. I like the mini minute.
Me too.
Are we calling it the mini minute?
We have a quorum.
Oh, mini. Oh,
minute.
mini.
Maybe we could have
Mini.
Mickey Mouse on the show.
They're full-sized creatures.
That's
and
fair.
it's
They are 3 foot
They're not
to
small.
5 foot.
That's
Yes,
terrifying.
true. The mini minute.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we landed there. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Tyler, you're up.
Do you guys? I have two. Do you guys want characters or do you want more of an improv game?
I want a game.
I want games.
We haven't played a game.
Play
in a
me,
minute.
make me
Give
a
me
game.
Give
Make me a game, Tyler. I want a game. I want to play a
Give me
game, Tyler.
I want to
Tyler,
have
give me
fun.
a game.
Give me a game. Tyler,
I want to play right now.
Hey, Tyler, I want to play.
I want to play a game.
Tyler, I want to have fun. I want to board. I want a game. Tyler, I want a game.
I want to play.
Tyler, please. Tyler.
This podcast it's less of a contest and more of an improv game, more of a zip zap zop podcast, if you will.
Right? Sure.
I'm calling this the Blunt Rotation podcast.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. 20 blunt tea tree. I love it.
Where we start the podcast and it's sort of a, hey, do you want to hit? And you pass it off. And the next person has to add someone to the blunt rotation.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay, I like it as a
character.
concept. I like it as a concept.
It needs to be workshop for
It
sure.
just needs yes, that's the thing. It just needs. I like the concept because that's a good core structure. We just need to expand it out a little bit.
Yes.
We need to expand it out into like we're ultimately designing the perfect blunt rotation, right? That's pretty much what we're doing.
Or
So, like,
the worst.
or
Which
the
one do you want?
worst. Okay,
Worst.
true. Or like that's the thing. Can we get like what was that the podcast with the albums that we came up with?
Oh, the iPodcast.
The EP, the extended podcast.
EP,
yeah,
the extended
EP, the extended podcast. Yeah.
Can we design a blunt rotation for a mood? Right? Or is that too? Is that too?
No,
specific,
no,
too niche?
because it needs to be niche because it can't just be any blunt rotation. Is
Yeah,
this
true,
like
true.
You're chilling at home blunt rotation?
Yeah,
is
this
this
is like
like
a-
I'm
is
behind
this-
a bar?
we're out camping
like,
blunt
where am I,
rotation?
my camping blunt rotation? Sure, and
Yeah.
that's definitely right.
And then I think you know what it is. I think we each bring maybe two people, and then we criticize and sort of like cross compare, and we're getting it down to just 3 people. So maybe we bring like 3 or 4 people, but each of us brings like a list of people, and then we try to like knock down the other.
I
people.
agree.
Try to, like,
I think
cross
this is
them out.
less. This is less of an impressions pod,
Yes.
which it can be, and more of a let's bring lists of people that would be funny to have in a blunt rotation.
A blunt rotation to sort of smoke out, and it could be anybody. Yeah, I think it could be anybody.
It could be anybody. No limits.
No limits. So even fictional.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We can have a lot of fun
opens
with
some
that. Then.
doors.
Okay, let's work on game structure then, because I think that's ultimately where like the show
Yes,
would lay.
for sure.
How do
For
we-
sure.
Do we confirm a person first and then sort of build out from there, or do we have to make sure like all the people
Yeah, they
match?
all
Is
have
it
to
sort of
work
like
together.
a sort of
We need a
swap
limit
out?
on the number of people. What's the? We have to decide this
Okay,
now.
this
What
is the thing.
the?
It has to be all 3 of us. We're already included in the blunt rotation, so it's us 3 and then 3 other people.
Yes, it has to be 3 other people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
us 3 and 3 other people. So we have to be able to hang, and then also they have to be able to hang with each other, and it just sort of all has to work in a given scenario. So, like for instance, one of the scenarios we're at Yosemite, we're like camping in a national park versus a pregame for a concert of some sort.
Yeah, I'm following. I think it needs. We're trying to find the ultimate blunt rotation for each situation. It needs something on top. It needs something else.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, there has to be like an elimination aspect of it, because Snoop Dogg would just be in every one, right? So like, do we have a blacklist, or like how do we not just
The
constantly
low-hanging-
I
have?
think we're not
low-hanging
allowed.
branch
Where
situation.
there needs to be a cross off list. There needs to be a burn book, a smoked book, where it's like, well,
smoked book,
obviously.
yeah. Well, obviously. Well, that's the
You
thing. Or
know.
maybe it has to be so specific that it's like someone even better. than Snoop
Here's the
Dogg.
thing. I don't think Snoop Dogg would be fun to smoke with in the middle of Yosemite. He doesn't feel like a camping type of
That's
person.
fair.
you
That's
know
fair.
what I
That's
mean?
fair. Yeah, you're right. So now,
If we're at an LA party,
Yeah.
fuck
Yes.
yeah, Snoop Dogg. But,
fuck
like,
yes, Snoop Dogg.
The White
Okay.
House.
you know,
The
the
White
White House.
Obviously,
Here's
gotta
my
have Joe Biden.
pitch.
Yes. Okay.
Here's my pitch.
Yeah.
Instead of like situation, it's the ultimate blunt rotation from like a certain subset of people. So we could do presidents.
Oh, okay. I like this.
Okay.
Is there a
and
way
we
we
have
can-
to cross off Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Maybe Obama's just included. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
maybe
just like
Obama's
a
just the
given,
obvious
a
one.
given.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it should be.
Okay.
Because
Should we
I think
do-
I like that idea better.
Okay, and if we were to bit depth this, I think we could do regular rotation and then nightmare rotation. The
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
and the
you could do
worst, if we were
both.
to- if we were
Best
to do
and
bit
worst.
depth. So it
Honestly,
works for a B segment.
I'm being honest, I don't think this is going to last too long. I think you could do best
you could
and
knock it out,
worst
yeah,
in one
pretty
B
in-
segment.
yeah.
I think
one
you
B
keep
segment.
that under half
Yeah.
an hour.
Can we
I
be
think this is a
high
tight
while we
pod.
record the B segment?
I think we should smoke
think-
while recording.
I think it would be fun to let the audience guess. If we're high or not during the record. A little fun mini game for the audience, a little play along at home if you're catching my drift. Oh, you know what, Tyler? If we were to bit depth this, because I know it's sort of a limited thing, but I think this actually could have legs now that I think about it. Could we also just sort of turn it into like a marijuana discussion podcast? Because there's not like a ton of those, and it would be kind of fun.
I simply don't know enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be a research. It would be on the same level as like a holiday trip or I forget what, that sort of thing. A research focused, and then also as a part of
I
it,
think
a
that's-
segmented game is like the blunt rotation is a part of it.
I think that's getting away from the core concept of the pod. I think the better like game we should play is we need to come up with a list of questions to answer whether they should be eligible. So like we're like, okay, we decide on the blunt rotation.
Yeah.
And then we have to ask each of those characters 3 questions or whatever.
True.
Where it's like, have they smoked before?
Yes.
Is one of them. Do we think this person has smoked before?
Bill Clinton
2.
did not inhale, so that
What would the name of their personal weed that they grew in their backyard be called?
Okay,
would
yes,
their
okay,
strain be
yes,
called?
Like how celebrities have wines, what would their weed be called?
yes,
That's one
100%,
of them.
100%, yes.
3.
I
need a third one.
Third one could be
Snacks.
that's a good one.
What way would they prefer? Are
do you mean?
they just
Edibles?
smoking a
Smoking
pre-roll?
it, eating, editing.
Are they
okay,
bong?
the
Is that
edible.
are they taking bong rips?
No,
Are
I
they
think
doing
it
an
has
edible?
to be. It has to be a blunt rotation. I think that's part of the core
Yeah,
concept.
you're right. It has to be.
It has to be a blunt rotation.
Yeah.
What about like what sort of rant would they go on? What high rant would they go on?
That's exactly
What
it.
would the
Have
topic
they
of discussion?
smoked-
Yes. Yeah.
When was the first time that they smoked? When and
Or
where?
have they? Yeah.
Have you
Or
smoked?
have they? If they have not,
What would their strain be called? And
what would your
Yeah,
strain
what would
be
and
their
called?
what would
strain
they
be
high
called?
rant about?
What would they high rant
Yes,
about? That's the
100%.
3 questions.
I love that.
So we decide on the blunt rotation, good and bad, and then we go on each of them.
Okay, I love this. This
Yes,
is great.
I
I
like
think
it.
I truly believe this has depth legs, but I maybe not. But let's go ahead and get to titles. What do we think? The rotation?
I don't know. I don't have a good
The
one. I
rotation
called this
is
the
a
blunt rotation
podcast.
podcast.
Can they hang a blunt rotation podcast?
Ooh, I like that. You know what? We are missing some semicolon action. It's been a minute since we had some semicolon action. Can they hang a blunt rotation podcast? That's a good title.
I kind of like that. I think Olivia came in hot again.
Yeah,
And nailed
yeah.
it.
Olivia coming in hot with these titles. A dream blunt rotation podcast.
The Dream Blunt
The
Rotation
Dream
podcast.
Blunt, yes. All right. And time for a recap. My podcast idea, you like jazz, is a podcast poop podcast. We chop and screw an episode and have some fun with sort of the form and structure of a podcast.
The Mini Minute is a interview podcast hosted by Arietti Clock, in which she interviews folks who are on the smaller end of things and see what their worlds are like.
And my podcast is Can They Hang? The Dream Blunt Rotation podcast, a podcast in which we determine the best group to smoke with. Best and worst?
Best and yeah, why not? All right, and now it's time for deliberation. All right, let's talk promise and sort of let's talk shop. Let's produce this.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk.
Let's go.
Let's discuss. I think here's my thing. All 3 of these are viable B segment options.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I think all of these would make perfect B segments. Let's talk bit depth then. I think all these can work as bit depths.
I don't think any. I think they all work better as B segments personally.
Yeah, I agree.
The thing about Can They Hang, the Dream Blunt Reputation podcast, is it has game aspects to it like Holiday Trip and Nancy Boys.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think You Like Jazz could be a bit depth. I don't know. What do you guys
too long? Here's my thing about YouTube poops. They are
Short,
funny in a tight
digestible.
window.
Yeah,
Has to be
true,
under 20 minutes for sure.
Yeah.
They get old. I think especially listening, like there's no visual element and
True.
It would
Absurdly
drive
long.
me insane.
Yeah, as an hour, there is a limit to how long it can be funny for. So you are right.
Eventually, it just becomes noise.
Yeah.
It just becomes noise, and although who knows? But yes, I think you're correct. I think You Like Jazz would probably be a good B segment. I don't know. How are you guys feeling? First off, before I get into like my sort of pitch for
Mini Minute started off rocky, but I think we have something that but we did characters last week.
Yeah.
So I would be okay giving the Mini Minute the short list, not the short list.
Yeah.
The
The bit lift. Yeah.
Here's the deal. I don't normally fight for my own podcast and deliberation. I think that's what I like. You guys end up picking, even though I wanted to do another one. I'm gonna fight for mine this week.
See, I'm also gonna fight for You Like Jazz, but I want to hear your argument for it, and then I'll.
My argument is you want to get it. Our whole thing is you have to get a hand on the ball, right? We each have to get a hand on the ball. I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing is our levels of editing skills are very different across the board.
Very different.
But that's where I want to sort of land. Is I think that could be just like a little taste of it. Okay, so here's my two arguments for You Like Jazz. One, I think it could be, because I'm the one who edits this show, but I think it could be fun to like sort of put your two touches on to the actual post-production side of it. The other thing is, it's another sort of innovation on form for our show, which is none of us record anything for it. And it's a separate entity outside of ourselves that we're bringing into our show. Does it make sense? Like it's another innovation when it comes to this show.
However, I think that, again, because there's no visual element, and we are either, like, if it was our own podcast, I see how it could be, like, stretching into the comedy bit, and, like, us, like, we're obviously, like, making fun of ourselves. That I can see. If we did another, like, property, I think that if it's not already funny, or if it's not something that people are already familiar with, it becomes a lot more difficult to make it funny.
My personal observation is we've had some very out there podcasts recently. Like think of the last three we did. We did the Quiz Inc., which is an innovation on form for us. We did the Virgil Horse podcast, another innovation on form for us. And then we did the Not a Sim podcast, and then we did the fucking what did
Perfect
we just
Pet
record
podcast.
this morning? The Perfect Pet podcast. We've done some wild and wacky characters. I think it would be nice to chill out.
To go back to do a standard podcast.
I think to do sort of a standard podcast.
Yeah, regular podcast.
A regular
I really would like to
podcast,
do a
I think it'd be
YouTube poop though
thing.
for a podcast eventually though.
Now,
could
here's
it
the
be
thing about the YouTube poop? I think that would make a great trailer for our show. Could we cut one as like a TikTok trailer? As like could we cut one as a YouTube trailer, and instead of a B segment or anything, we use this as marketing material?
I think it also could be funny as like a visual trailer, just because we now have
visual element to it.
The visual element of Olivia fucking crying for 20 minutes over fucking Stuart Little. Like there's visual bits.
I'm fine conceding You Like Jazz. I don't know what we would do with it, but I do want to do something with it. We can talk.
I definitely think we could keep an idea because it's a very good idea. I just think in the form of a B segment, it is going to take it's going to take a lot of work, like a serious amount of work. And I'm not opposed to that, but I am kind of busy this week, and I know you are too.
All right, sure.
And, would our time be better served making a very chill, fun podcast where we talk about Joe Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine conceding it. I just want to I want to do something with it though, because it's a very good
absolutely.
concept.
I'm with you.
I feel like it absolutely has legs.
It has legs, but the issue. Let's talk about that real fast before we cut, because I think that's worth talking about. Is like it feels outside of podcasts. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like a B segment or a bit depth. It feels like something new entirely.
What is that? And let's speak on that. What is
the podcast?
That?
Could we keep this in our back pocket for the next time we're not able to release an episode?
Okay. But again, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Both of you have floated the idea that we do it to our show. What are the merits of that?
We have all the recordings.
Well, yes, we have all the stems, sure.
And if you're listening to the podcast poops, you listen to our show. So
Yeah,
Fair.
if you listen to our show,
I just think
you're already
the
here.
argument.
And it's also like it's reimagining.
If
our
you
own
don't know
stuff.
Ira
Like, it's
Glass,
just-
is it funny to hear Ira Glass say "come"?
Yeah, Tyler, you just said that. You verbalized that, and 100%, yes, because the way Ira Glass speaks, he definitely doesn't say "come," and so it's very funny to make him say "come." I think that doing it to our own show, one, is a little bit jerking ourselves off a little bit, and two, I think that making it with a different property has the opportunity to pull in audiences from other properties. I'm fine conceding it for the B segment for this episode, but I think we can do something with it. We've talked a little bit about a potential a change to this show insofar as other B segment ideas. So I think we might be able to toss it in there as a potential other property.
Yeah, let's discuss it off air for sure. In like a business way. Because we're business
Because we're business people and we don't talk.
people.
Once these cameras turn off, these podcast cameras that we have, once they turn off, we don't talk.
No.
We're
No.
purely associates.
Purely a work environment.
It's and honestly, O'Neill, you're only one of my groomsmen to keep the fiction working.
Oh no, because it works within the fiction. Obviously, this is leading up to a big reveal. Obviously, the big podcast reveal. So yeah. Anyway, we've been fucking scatmanning for too long. We will be back. Tyler, you want to introduce? You want to segue us?
We'll be back with Can They Hang? The Dream Blunt Rotation.